Video game loading icons, we all know them. I have a love-hate relationship with them, and you? I don't know, you tell me. The point is that they are in fact a thing, and a common one at that, but are hardly ever talked about because there isn't a damn thing to say about them. May have proven myself wrong about that statement, but oh well. So what better thing to do on a day like today?
I'm gonna stay inside.
Then rank these guys like it's still that tier list craze that was going on a few years ago. I'm just gonna talk about ones I think should be mentioned. If you think of any that should be mentioned, tell me. I recently started reflecting on loading icons because of a new game that came out recently that I really enjoyed. Guardians of the Galaxy. I like the sleek icon used in the bottom corner there, and it also feels like it doesn't just loop around in circles, there's more to it. Loading icons can still be good even if they follow the basic trend of a line swirling around. This happens in instances like the Guardians one where they weave the line through an important logo or symbol to the story. Solid B. It always kills me a bit on the inside when games just have the rotating circle thing with or even without sometimes a logo or artwork presented as their loading screen. Take Smash as an example of one game without that creative of a loading icon. They've pretty much had the same one for at least 2 games straight now, and they could do something so much better, honestly, with very little effort. I get that there's something to look at in the background during the loading screen, but that's not really what this tier list is about. It would be so incredibly freaking easy that even I could make something better. D from the past 2 Smash games, because I didn't bother looking any further than those ones. I really said I would choose some random ones with significance, so now I will proceed to go over a star child from the past that instantly perfected the concept of utilizing the game logo in the design. Disney Infinity, my childhood game which I cry every May 10th for, in honor of it. A game that's cancellation stomped the hearts of the fan base and had one of the best loading icons out there. It honestly feels kinda hilarious just talking about how sad this game's cancellation was before just going, guys, but this game's loading icon was fire. Their logo was surrounded by what was practically just one of those line circling things like in Smash, but it felt so different with its blocky blue line tightly gripped around all the edges and corners of whatever you call this shape. Hey, this next one, I'll admit, is pretty much just another one of the ones circling around like the ones I've berated so far, but it's actually quite done well here, and it fits like within the most important item in the game. It's on this one series, kind of unknown, but I've made a few things on it, I can say. Xenoblade Chronicles. What? I said I made a few videos on it. Mainly focusing on the first game here, Xenoblade Chronicles uses the standard circle pattern, but stuffs it really neatly into the most important element in the series. The Xenoblade, the Monado, a mythical blade that people talk about in the game for pretty much around 52 hours of the game's runtime, which is all of it. I may be biased, but I like how this one swirls around the inner circle of the Monado and around one of the symbols that resides on the inside. I think this one's got some gusto. Bit bulky for sure. They didn't even bother to add like loading tips or a background, which can I say, when it's the opposite, I absolutely hate when they just put like some banner so you can go, this game, with a little text in the bottom saying now loading or something like that. Always add the logo or a spinny thing at the bare minimum. I much prefer something that my feeble dumb brain could just stare at infinitely as it shifts around and flails, signifying that the game is still loading because the thingy is. B. How does the next game and its DLC top it, you may be thinking? They don't. The hell? These things are just blinking slightly. I get that they're important, but to go from this to this? Why, Monolith? Why? Xenoblade 2 and torn up, whatever. Out, go, D. It's like the Dark Souls one that's just a flickering fire why is it on the left? I'm aware there's no written rule about it having to be on the bottom right corner or the middle, but why is it on the left? It's almost always on the right. Also D. Wait a minute. Disney Infinity. It's in the bottom left. I think I need to cool down for a minute, so allow me to fire off some quick ones. Jedi Fallen Order, pretty basic logo in the middle, half ring circling around it. See? Final Fantasy VII Remake, fun to get mesmerized by and forget that you've just been beaten to death by gross lumpy frogs that jump around on 2 legs like they're me at 3 a.m. trying not to step in a puddle left by our refrigerator's broken ice machine. B. Fallout 76, despite what you may think about the game, and even though they have one of the most basic loading icons where they just spin the gear, I like the image of the gear turning, it's really nice to look at. They also took the time to remove the text from the gear, which adds a really nice looking foreground-background dynamic to it. Easy A. I think that's enough on loading icons alone, because there's something else that can either go hand in hand with them, or just be an incredibly lazy alternative.
Loading bars!
Loading bars serve as a reassurance similar to that of a child being reminded that they are only 20 minutes away in the car ride. Every time you think to yourself, how much longer if you are like me, meaning you're an impatient prick? You could just look at the progress on the bar and it tells you gladly without getting annoyed like a parent you've been annoying all the way to soccer practice. There isn't much variation you could do to a loading bar, but I think the maximum amount of effort is something along the lines of the one in Mario Odyssey, where it's just a little loading bar with an Odyssey flying along. But one thing I personally see quite the amount of would be something like the classic combo you see in Gang Beasts, with lazily made spinning icons like I mentioned earlier, as well as a progress bar, just so you don't have to look to and fro like in the Monster Hunter one. Also, I forgot to add Mario Odyssey. Gang Beasts C, Monster Hunter A. Speaking of which, I'm quite fond of the Monster Hunter World loading screen. They got multiple moving icons that cycle out, as well as the loading bar on the bottom right, which would always get stuck at the exact same spot. But it's a pretty good one overall, and I guess I quite like it. But of course, unless you've been living under a rock, you would know that Monster Hunter Rise popped onto the scene in March, and it could have only gotten better from that, right? Okay, I will admit that the artwork is phenomenal. There's so much to it that you never actually see it all because the game loads too fast, so there's plenty to keep your eyes glued to the screen for, eternally burning them with the power of—
Trust me, I have good reason for cutting this line short.
But to go from this to this, they could have made a cool icon like World and had the artwork screen, but they opted for a rotating icon that has pretty much no significance to the game in the slightest, and to cut the loading bar completely. Fine, I'll give it a B. So that's a downgrade from one game to the next in the same series, but what about one version of the game to a different version? Minecraft, don't worry, I'm fully aware that I am incapable of saying bad things about Minecraft Java and still waking up breathing tomorrow, so I'm saying bad things about Bedrock. Java somehow managed to make something that I could only interpret as a perfect combination between loading icon and loading bar. This square is so beautiful that I've been looking at it for 5 hours now, kind of fire. So how do they match this in Bedrock? They don't.
I get that it's the XP bar and all, but all I'm saying is comparing the two is like comparing Ryan Reynolds from that guy from Toy Story.
Without a doubt, Java is the easiest S I could give out, and Bedrock, keep trying, I guess. There's one more thing I feel like talking about, and it's a quick one. 3D logo rotating on what I think is the Z-axis, and if I'm not right about that, you are welcome to shout at me. Uncharted 4 is a perfect example of these things and how there really isn't much to mention about them, and if I were to, it'd just be ranking them based on their complexity. Amongst these rotating icons, the beast lies, occur, blight, darkspawn, name all the names you want because this is the most infuriating loading icon I've ever laid eyes on. Lego City Undercover! TT Games, the monsters, the bigots made an Ames window illusion out of their logo. Whether it was intentional or not, this thing sucks. Whether it was intentional or not to make the most unsatisfying loading icon ever and to accompany it with the most annoying loading music of all time, this is awful. The worst part about this whole ordeal is that they had a 3D logo they used in other loading screens, spinning like a 3D logo should. It was the perfect thing, and they chose to jump ship for it only for the Wii U gamepad, which just made me want to toss that thing at a wall every loading zone I was faced with. Doesn't belong on the list at all. It just doesn't deserve it. Out, just go. Don't ask why I'm pointing that way. That's a wall. But just get the doors that way. So, there's the tier list of everything I thought to include on this. You can make your own. I just hit my thing. And if you do make one, feel free to tell me just anything you added to the list for any good or bad reason, because I am all ears on that. Also, I really... I just want to show off my script here for this, because I went a bit overboard. This is the biggest script I ever made, and it's on a spinny corner decoration in video games. It's not even the actual video game, it's the loading of the game. I don't know how to do outros, and I don't know how to write outros, so I guess stop by here again at Yum Eggs. Bye-bye.